Hi everybody and welcome to another episode of the Smashing Skull Sessions. This is the second one of the year. A big shout out, of course, to our main sponsors, Rising Suns Brewery, who produce some fantastic beer right here in Cork City. Right, this week, lads, I'm delighted to welcome a band called Sagor Som or Mot Slutet. They are a Swedish post-metal, post-rock band. Dark and heavy is how I best describe your sound. I have Jonas and Martin here on the show. Guys, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
Pleasure.
Hi.
Now, I've been a fan of yours for quite a while, as you probably know. I met you at Dunk last year. No, it's last year, 2022. And as you can see, I have your vinyl presses from back in 2016, maybe is it the first album?
First album, yeah, 2016, yeah.
Yeah, so tell me, guys.
That's a long time ago now.
It sounds a long time, doesn't it? Jesus, yeah. But you're doing well, lads. 2022, a colossal year for you. I think myself personally, you had an album that seems to have charted in every album of the year list over the last few months there, if you're watching social media. You released your album number 3 and you've been touring. From what I can see, you've been touring nearly all year, have you?
Play more shows than ever, at least.
Yeah, big time.
And I think it was also after COVID when things were loosening up a bit, and then came like what's called catch-up effect. And
yeah.
And all of a sudden you're allowed to play places.
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah. How far did you travel, guys? Tell me.
I think the furthest was Dunk Festival, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Ghent, Belgium, yeah.
A special weekend it was.
Yeah, really fun, really nice, really great people and great bands playing there as well.
As I said, I met you very briefly. I know you were busy guys selling your merchandise and stuff at the time.
Yeah, that was hectic.
Yeah, it was hectic. It was indeed, yeah. How do you look back on it? Even the whole year, don't mind just Dunk, but the year, when you look back at the year you had, do you pinch yourselves and think, fuck it, that was class?
Yeah, that was a good year. We released the third album and also playing Dunk the first time. I think we were released for Dunk 2020, right? But then COVID happened, so it got postponed for 2 years.
Yeah.
And me and Jonas was at Dunk 2018,
18, I think, in the forest. 17, 18, back in the forest.
Oh, yeah.
Back when it was outside in the forest, and we said, like, hey, we need to play at this venue. It's so fucking cool. Yeah.
And then it finally comes around and you're gone indoors. What can you do?
Yeah.
But it was a real good venue.
I think it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Jesus, Jonas, a lot of stairs. Man, a lot of stairs. And you don't have much of a window between bands playing to get up and down those stairs. It's maybe 5 minutes.
I heard about that.
Yeah.
It was easier for us bands because we can use like the back routes and backstage routes, and there were other stairs and
there was an elevator.
An elevator as well.
Yeah.
There was an elevator, but the fear
we
of
were
getting
cheating.
stuck. Yeah, the fear of getting stuck in the elevator. I said, no way, forget it. But yeah, that's the album back in May. When I think back already, Jesus, maybe 8, 9 months, 10 months ago. It's got an unbelievable reception, hasn't it? You must be thrilled with it, the album itself.
Yeah, the reviews were very well received, and both the first, second, and also the third one. So we really appreciate. It's really fun to see how many people that never heard of us then just like, okay, this is really good music. So that really warms our hearts. Yeah.
Especially since we are an independent band as well, so we do everything ourselves.
Exactly.
Not record or hire studios, produce, and it's our own money that we invest. So it's
everything is DIY, Jonas. Yeah.
Everything.
That's incredible. That work is like people. I know people do know, but the work that goes into keeping a band afloat and keeping it going, traveling, touring,
Planning.
Jesus, I can only imagine the logistics of it all. It's crazy, is it?
Yeah.
But does it
but
pay off?
Also it's a lot of fun. We've kept it this way because we like working this way. We don't have to answer to anyone. We do everything the way we want to do it.
Yeah.
The one that's been helping us, the first album was mixed and mastered by ourselves even. And the second and third album, the latest one, mixed and mastered by Magnus from Cult of Luna.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of albums.
He's been helping out with the mix and master, of course.
Yeah, he's like a true mastermind of sound.
Absolutely, he seems to be the go-to guy, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I was just
guy to work with. Yeah.
Just put on a couple of record, and
I was just talking to Ropes Inside a Hole during the week there because they released their album, and again, that man's name was on the books again. He's definitely got the Midas touch, I think, hasn't he?
Yeah, he does, and he really understands the genre. So it's always fun to have people like that don't understand the genre to have their kind of expression in it. But with him, it's fast and it's always really, really good right from the beginning. So you really know what you get.
and did you always want that? Did you always want him on board? Was that the plan for this third album, or was it just something that happened?
Yeah, he started. We contacted him for the second album, and then we wanted help with drums as well. So we went up to is it Studio Grandal? No.
Studio Gröndal, and it's connected to other studios called Fascination Street. But it's Studio Gröndal in Sweden with Daniel Castillo.
Yeah,
it's called.
Yeah. Okay.
A lot of special metal bands go there, like Amorphis, Catatonia, you name dark metal band studios.
Yeah. Jeez, you just mentioned two fantastic bands there.
Amorphis and Catatonia. Two of my favorites. And that was one thing. So we heard when we were going to record the drums there. Because he said, okay, I went to the studio for a day. Okay, what studio? Okay to us. That's okay.
Let's do it. Enough.
He was also super friendly and a professional guy to work.
Yeah. And again, like I said, you look back on the year that just went, has to be all highs. There must have been no downs, is there? And is it such hard work that you can't appreciate it?
I mean, it's a lot of hard work before you release it, and then when you release it, it kind of feels like good, of course, that finally people can listen to and enjoy the music.
Yeah,
and then the work starts to get the show running with reviews and booking of shows, live shows, and things like that. So it's always something to do, and that's what makes it fun as well.
And how do you share out the workload within the band, lads? Who's the unfortunate guy who gets left with the heavy weights?
Yeah, we share very much, pretty based on what everyone is good at and what feels natural.
There's a tendency right now, at least, or for the last couple of years, that I have done most of the booking. You've done all of the web shop and all the products, all the merchandise, and then the other guys probably just contributed to all the things. So we're helping each other.
Okay.
Maybe those are two main parts.
Yeah. So David is doing everything with the development of the web page and coding and stuff like that. So we work with different things, so it falls natural what we do in the band as well.
Gee, that's fantastic,
really,
isn't it?
Yeah, that really helps a lot. But because if you would have 4 guys that are all the same, it's everyone that wants to do the same thing.
So, 4 guys who know nothing about social media. Yeah.
There's basically no competition. Friendly one, perhaps.
Yeah.
Has this been the biggest year? 2022. Has it been the biggest year for you when you compare the release of album number 1 and number 2? Does this year's 2022 stand out?
Yeah, I'd say so, because we ended up releasing an album that we really liked, playing at Dunk, playing a couple of more shows in Sweden, which is kind of rare to us. Sweden is a really hard country to book post-rock shows. You can ask literally anyone.
I have,
and also we did our first consecutive dates of a tour in December in Denmark and Norway. So it was also a hallmark to us. So very nice year.
Yeah, and why is it so hard to book within Sweden? You're not the first to say it, Others have said the same thing. And it's, when you think of the bands that came out of Sweden, like, you've Emanuel or Hiroshima, Cult of Luna, Swarm of the Sun, PG Lost.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost a mecca for post music, but yet everyone says that you struggle to play live there.
Yeah. It's as you say. I mean, there's so many great bands from Sweden, and it's not only post rock; it's within all metal genres,
exactly,
rock genres, everything. But there's something with the Swedish booking system that is like you're supposed to be happy to play at places without getting paid, or you're really really big, and then you have arena to play at.
I get you.
So there's nothing like in between.
There's no middle ground there, so for somebody who's maybe at your size at the moment as a band.
Yeah. No, not really.
Yeah.
And maybe also it's a hard genre for some people to understand if you just introduce them to it. Okay, this is heavy, this is dark, this is melancholic, lots of melodies, you like it. The good vocals, no, not that much. So we've gotten that a lot in Sweden, but also the appreciation not having vocals. But it feels good that you're telling us too and want to talk to other bands. It's actually an obvious truth that
it is, and it's a pity.
A lot of good pop rock bands, but it's hard to get a show. We only have to go across the bridge to Denmark.
Yeah,
we play much more in Denmark than we do in Sweden.
So that's the thing. We only live like a bridge away, so it takes like 10-20 minutes to get over to Denmark. So that makes Copenhagen is the place to play for us. We've been in Copenhagen like every year playing.
That's crazy though, isn't it? Geographically, it's so far. It's not so far away. It's stone throws away, and it's a different vibe.
Yeah. That's weird because we played also in other cities in Denmark. Small cities, smaller cities.
Yeah. And a good. And are you getting a decent turnout at these shows within, for instance, Copenhagen? I mean, what are you talking?
I mean, Denmark and Norway is great countries to play at. You actually have a crowd that comes to the shows. That enjoys the music, that buys the merch, and etc. In Sweden, it's a little bit more.
Not a trash talk, but there's some barrier that we need to cross.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it might change at some stage. I don't know what you can do to change it.
Yeah, I think it's a famous saying here. Like, to be big in Sweden, you need to be big internationally first. Then you can kind of come back to Sweden and play.
Yeah,
then you have been accepted.
You can look at all old bands from the 90s, like Cardigans. They went to Japan and then they come back and it's a big thing.
And something, it's not too dissimilar to Ireland. Like Ireland is, you look again, we try and stick within our own genres here. Like, I mean, God as an Astronaut thrived in Europe but never made it at home, and even still to this day they sell out at home, but it's a bit of a slog for them, I think, to be accepted in Ireland. I just don't know why, because we have a decent rock and metal scene. And again, Jonas, I don't know, is it down to vocals? Do people need words to sing along to? I don't know.
Perhaps also it could be other, the national mentality or something, but in other countries like in Denmark and Belgium and Norway, I feel like the same group of people, a crowd of people can be into a lot of different kind of music. So it's not only a metal crowd, punk crowd, and a post-rock, psychedelic alternative. They're all there together.
Yeah.
It's also kind of nice with the post-rock, post-metal scene. I mean, you can mix whatever things you want in the music, and it shows at when you play live. I mean, you can have people enjoying jazz coming up and saying they enjoy the music, and you can have people enjoying hardcore black metal saying they enjoy the music. So it's a really good mix of people. Yeah,
that is the beauty of this genre of music, I think, because anything is acceptable within it. If it sounds right, just put it in there. As you mentioned, there's brass, there's strings, trumpets, trombones. Everything fits into that post-rock sound, I think, and that post-music. It's a great place to be, and I just wish much more people would give it a chance. Especially even in metal circles and metal genres, or heavier bands. People don't seem to give it a chance, which is a pity. Especially here in Ireland as well, and I suppose, as you said, you're feeling the same in Sweden. Was it always your intentions to grow this band to where you are today, lads? Tell me, for when you look back at 2016, is this where you wanted to be 3 albums in?
I think we went further than we first imagined it being. I mean, we started out just drinking beer at a local craft beer place, and we just everyone we knew each other from different kind of band constellations. And we just said like, no more singers, post-rock from now on. And we went off from there. And the first album came out it only took like 1 year for creating everything. Yeah.
So we just wanted to try something new and see how that worked. And we got 4 guys together that wanted the same thing.
Yeah. And that album, the first album, it's almost a bit of a collector's album to have now, on hard copy.
Yeah, we saw.
As I'm proud to display mine, like. But was that the case from the start, or did that evolve over the second and third album? Was the first album really taken in within metal or post-metal circles as been a great album, or did it take a while?
It took a while. I've seen it on like these kind of lists, like the best post-rock, post-metal from the decade, 2010 to 2020. But it wasn't immediate. It took a while for people to notice a completely new band, of course. So the first year we only played locally, and we went to, I think the big break was Vivid in Norway. Yeah. So that way we got into the genre and people started noticing us.
Yeah.
So huge shout out to Timo.
Exactly. Timo done tremendous work getting Vivid up and running there. He got some great bands in, I have to say.
Yeah, so he kind of found us. We hadn't recorded much, so we just sent him some pre-recording.
Some demo versions of the songs. And he liked it and said, okay, we could have a spot for you.
Yeah.
How was that experience, lads? How was Vivid? That was your first sort of big show, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, big show, especially a big show abroad. It was great. Have you been there?
No, I told Timo maybe just pre-pandemic that I was going to make the effort to get there, but Dunk keeps coming up and I keep booking Dunk and I keep saying, fuck it, I'll have to do something else. So someday, Jonas, I'd say, if it ever happens again.
It's dormant. He has the Vivid Presents, but he has us on smaller venues. But
that's right.
The big one, it was fantastic because it's in an old movie theater.
Yeah.
So you're playing on the stage right in front of the big screen, so you have all the visuals.
Brilliant.
All bands have visuals. If you were a small band, we managed to do our own with some help. But if you were a small band, they just gave you a visual art designer. Here, it's going to do visuals. All bands were going to have good visuals. And we talked to some other bands that were new at time as well, and they felt the same thing. Wow, this is cool. We're getting help here to play. And everyone got the same chance. So it was band like Siberia, which I really love, playing the headline show. Right. Big visuals, super cool. And then we had a band that were starting off back then, our Norwegian friends, Avstånd. Also had cool big visuals. Yeah.
Brilliant. Exactly. That's the beauty of this scene, actually, isn't it? Because bands, irrespective of size, seem to get treated the same. And that just shows it, doesn't it, really? Vivid, everyone's looked after. That visual aspect makes everything all the sweeter, doesn't it? And really sort of sets the scene.
Yeah. And also cool because, all movie theater people sitting down for at least the majority of the bands. Maybe not the headliners.
Just enjoying the music.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of the fun part with post-rock as well. You can really see when people are enjoying it. They don't need to headbang and stuff like that. You just feel and they're nodding and they're into it.
Yeah.
Can you feel that energy that's when they're on stage?
You of course you can see that, but it's not as pronounced as a crazy guy jumping up and down. Of course, it's more subtle. Yeah,
that is a sort of a strange thing when I'm telling people again. I have two friends of mine there, Richie from the Metal Cell, who edits and produces this show, and he's coming to Dunk with me this year. He's used to thrash, death metal bands, heavy Irish bands, but he's going to try something different. And you try and play up Dunk for what it is because it's something really special. But at the same time, like you said, when you go to a dunk festival show, you just sort of stand back a little bit, take it in, and sort of embrace the music that way, as opposed to thrashing around and throwing elbows.
Yeah, I'm more that way as well. I like to stand a little bit further in the back and just enjoy the music nowadays. Not like in the older, the younger, crazier days.
The stage diving days.
Yeah.
Have you stage dive, Martin? Yeah.
No, not stage dive. No. But the way I've been playing drums and stuff like that, it was a little bit more aggressive. Even though I'm aggressive now as well.
Yeah. Jonas, yourself, have you tasted jumping off stage?
There were some cases back in the 90s, if I recall right.
Yeah, and you're a big man to jump and have coming at you. That's for sure.
I wasn't back then. I was thinner, but then again,
I'm talking size. You're from what I can recall from last year at Doug, you're a tall man, aren't you? You must be 6'3", 6'4".
But then, back in the days, everyone, at least in the metal scene, all were wearing Get the Grips and Dr. Martens with the metal protection. That was allowed back then. So you can get one of those in your head if you're watching like Cannibal Corpse or In Flames or a heavy band like that, which happens.
Have you seen all those bands? Have you seen the likes of In Flames? I mean, obviously, been the Scandinavian bands themselves. Would you have seen them a few times?
Yeah, I've seen Swedish death metal bands not a lot of times, but a couple of times back, especially in the 90s, because that was when I was a teenager. So, In Flames and Dark Tranquility and Dismember and Dissection and those bands were cool seeing them at smaller venues.
Did those bands influence you at all, lads? I know, like, you're a different genre, but again, your music is dark, it's atmospheric, it's heavy, sad, emotive. Does that come from what you listened to back in the 90s, Jonas?
Yeah, to me, I'd say a lot of your formative years, the things you started listening to do.
Yeah.
Perhaps in my case, it's the even more darker and moody ones. A lot of British bands like Paradise Lost and Anathema, My Dying Bride.
Yeah.
And if you go over the pond to US, you have Had type of negative, dark and gloomy bands.
Yeah, we grew up with the same stuff. So, Jonas, they'd be the three bands that I spent 10 years adoring: Anathema, My Dying Bride, Paradise Lost.
Paradise Lost. Should not forget, probably my favorite band.
And they're still going, which is incredible, isn't it?
Saw them just the other month here in Malmö.
And how was it, actually, out of curiosity? How did it sound?
They're still good. A bit more standing still these days, but still got the sense of humor and playability and all of it, and they still enjoy it. You can feel that they still enjoy it.
And what about you, Martin? I mean, as we're talking about older music, what did you listen to in the past, and what sort of
also
influenced you?
Dark, gloomy. I was way into black metal, and it was only black metal.
Yeah, me too for a while.
So a lot of Ulver. During their formative years, their black metal years. That was one of my favorite bands, and still is one of my favorite bands, even though they've escaped the black metal parts and doing the electro parts. Schaden in Stockholm like 3 years ago, and that was amazing.
Okay.
So a lot of black metal. And then when I got older, it's everything from like video game music, Nobuo Uematsu, stuff like that, to Final Fantasy, and to Olafur Arnalds, like more neo-classical music.
All right, okay.
And then I entered into post-rock that way.
All right. Again, you all bring something a little bit different to the table, don't you, with regards to your background and your taste?
Yeah, everyone has kind of a heavy background.
Yeah, I'd say we come from different directions, perhaps, but all of a sudden, in some time of life, played like heavy metal, death metal, or more even heavier stuff.
Yeah.
And even like, go on, sorry, Jonas, go ahead.
Okay, you're welcome.
Even during like your music, as I said, for a post band, it is very dark, which I love. I love that aspect of your sound. And is it something that just came naturally, or are you actually working to try and achieve that?
mean, I kind of think it's natural for us since we all have that in the past. And also it's like kind of like I can imagine the Scandinavian sound-ish. We do that kind of musical.
I think naturally. So, yeah. It's part of your DNA, I think, is it?
Yeah. Well, it's dark outside. It's not much sun.
How dark is it actually? How many hours of daylight are you getting at the moment?
Well, we live in the southern parts of Sweden, so it's actually not that bad.
Okay.
But I mean, for David, that is from the northern parts of Sweden, they have days during the year now in December where there is like no sun at all.
That's mad, isn't it?
Just a couple of hours with dusk light, and then it goes back dark.
Jeez,
during summers, they only have sun all the time. It never sets.
There's two sides, but I suppose, he writes his best material in the winter, so does he?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, look, lads, I'm going to give everybody a taste of some of your music here.
Sure.
I have so many favorite tracks, but look, I'm going to give a track called Avstånd. Have I pronounced that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty close.
Pretty close, yeah. Here it is, guys. Have a listen to this. This is Sagor Som Mot Slutet's track, Avstånd, and see what you think. So there you have it, lads. There's a taste of Sagor Som Mot Slutet's music. That is Avstånd, the first track from their third album. I can't say enough about these guys. I just love their dark, melancholic metal sound, as it's very Swedish, but yet very unique at the same time. I mean, when I listen to it, I know your music. When I hear it straight away, when I hear a few riffs, it does sound to me different from other post-metal bands. You have a unique take on your own sound. But come here, I want to dig a little deeper into your music. Is there a concept behind your albums? I know they're being numbered 1 to 3, so is there a storyline that follows? Because obviously it's in a different language for me.
So the albums are narratives in themselves. So the first album has one narrative, the second album has another narrative, and the third album is another narrative. They're not connected, they're more thematic that way. So if you understand Swedish and you understand what the songs mean in the title, then you will kind of get a grasp of what's going on in the narration. Yeah.
Okay, and again, that story is each album sort of a story in itself. So really, is it? They don't follow a path, but the tracks follow a path.
Yeah, the tracks within one album follow a track.
Yeah. So just to break down this latest album number 3, what's the idea behind it? What's the atmosphere in it?
I would say we look at the album cover and perhaps some of the songs and the noises. It's about space, more spacious in that sense too. So both space as like we're on a planet in space, and it's ever-growing universe, but also spacious. Perhaps a bit bigger, a bit more air pushed in there. More big melodies and not always the quick metal arpeggios or banjo playing.
So also in the third album, there's a little bit more synthesizers. Compared to the first and second album, that's a more violin kind of mood. So the first album is more of a forest narration. Second album is about going out to sea. You can see that in the art.
Exactly, yeah.
And the third album, just as Jonas said, it's if you look at the album, it's actually space that's making those 3 pillars. In the art.
Very nice, a lot of talk goes into it. People don't really see it, and especially when, as you said, the tracks are in a different language to someone who can't speak Swedish like myself or even pronounce words. It's nice to get a bit of an insight into it, As a band, lads, and as a group, as the 4 of you, I know there's been one change. Is there within the bass player? But other than that, you've been a pretty solid group since 2016.
Yeah. That's correct, yeah. So the bass player, he went to Japan. So now he's working with importing craft beer to Japan.
Okay.
So that was really cool. So he couldn't say no to that.
Kind of good job.
It's hard to say no when beer's involved, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we got a marvelous new bass player in Andreas. And perhaps if you put the albums side to side and listen to them in a row, you probably hear that they have differences in playing technique and how they approach bass lines. I say.
So Henrik played at the first and second album, and then Andreas started helping us out live, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes Henrik was away in Japan and stuff like that. And then he really helped out, and he did new things on the songs. So you can really hear that it is Andreas playing on the third album.
Yeah, he's his own signature sound, so as opposed to what Henrik had, but he was around the band for a while, so was he? If you said he stood in at time to time, so he knows the band, he knew what you were about.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And was he actually a friend of yours, or was it somebody you met through music?
Actually, a friend of mine, and we had played in a band together like 10 years ago.
Okay.
They were in different bands actually back in the days, but we were in the same band for a period of years, and like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of fun. Everyone was playing in different constellations before. So me and Dave, the other guitarist, were playing in a band before, and we also had Henrik.
Okay.
And then that ended, and me and Jonas has also played in a band before.
Yeah.
And Jonas and Andreas has played in a band before.
Jesus, sure, you know each other inside out, so.
Yeah. For good or for worse.
And it probably brings up the reason why I asked the question, that you're such a solid group, because you know each other so well. You've been around each other for so long. You're as much friends as band members, I suppose, aren't you?
Yeah, we hang around, and we rehearse every week. So you meet up all the time.
Yeah. As I mentioned there, lads, your music, we mentioned it being dark and slightly melancholic, but what inspires you to write this type of music? Like, is there ever a case you'd say to yourself, let's do something a little bit different, a little bit more uplifting? Or is that just not possible? Is this your sound? Is this your style?
I think it's the thing that comes to mind. Some of the songs we am together. At least one of the songs that went on the second album. It's a jam that we recorded, and I thought, okay, this is good. Won't tell you what song. And then otherwise, it's some of us who have got inspiration. So okay, I got this riff, or it could be some one of the songs on the new album. We had had a message of a person who died, was pretty close to us.
Okay.
And the inspiration came to write something, and that happened. So
Okay.
You never know what inspires you, emotion, musically, because sometimes we say, okay, can we do like that's okay? Could we, if we just do something with a time signature? Do something with the melody. Can you think Opeth over there? Okay, and we try something.
I suppose you don't go with a set plan. So you sort of when you come to the studio, or when you jam together and practice together, it's a case of just finding something. Is it between you? There's no sort of set agenda. No one fella is directing, saying this is what we have to do. This is what we have to sound like.
No, we pretty much jam everything together. Usually, it's like Jonas said, someone has some parts. But then, I mean, if you look at our songs, they're like 10 minutes long. So, I mean, how we evolve that part into something completely else and how we build it up, it's being made together in the rehearsal. Yeah.
In some songs, especially the long ones, have started sometimes two different ideas that have been merged together.
It's like the Radiohead song, like, what's it called?
Paranoid Android, no?
Yeah, exactly. Like three songs melded together. So at least one song has been melded together like that in a really cool way. Yeah.
That's great. It's nice to hear how people write tracks, and write their music. Some people are very meticulous in how they do it. Others just, as you said, jam together and just shoot ideas off each other. That's more your style, yeah?
Yeah. So it's usually like someone hears something within the band. Can't we do like this, blah, blah, and then we just try it out and like, hey, that sounded good, or hey, that's absolutely sucked.
don't you ever play that again.
Put down the guitar. Take a real long break.
Take the guitar off him. That's it. No more.
Yeah, I really liked one session we had when we theorized too much, and then when Jonas entered the rehearsal studio, we were all so happy, like, oh, we did like this and we were thinking like that, and let's try it out. And everyone was like, okay, this is total garbage. What the fuck were we thinking about?
It happens many times, I'd say. Come here, lads, can I talk about your live performances in general? And again, I was lucky enough to see last year. And I suppose we talk about bands getting energy from the crowds, when they're watching a show, and it gives you a bit of an edge and everything else. But I found that you guys were just immersed in the gig, in the live environment. You were really, really in the zone. Is that always the way every time you play live, or is it something special because it's Dunk? Is there something unique about that experience?
Yeah, I think I'll say it's different. If you got like different shows, of course we were a bit hyped for Dunk and on that build up. So we went on stage. I think we all felt without saying it. We were saying, okay, let's do this. It's Dunk. We always want to do it. And then we saw the audience. And the place was more packed than at least I had thought from the beginning. And you saw that, okay, this is good. And you saw the reactions when you played, like you said, certain melodies, certain songs. You could see in their eyes, oh, she likes it. He likes it. Martin, they like it. And then you get into the zone, and then it's hard to explain what you do. Sometimes people say, that's a cool thing you did. We do during that solo. And I was probably in the zone because I can't remember. I played the thing, but
Jonas, I remember watching you actually during the show, and this music is as we mentioned the same word, so emotive. Like you were just beyond the zone. You were just so hooked, and we just fed off that. Like everybody in the audience feeds off it. To see you getting so immersed in it just brings out the best out of the audience, I think, as well. And it definitely is one of the standout shows. And as I mentioned, that track, which I will not try and pronounce, was the standout track of the show of the weekend nearly, actually. Again, this might be a bit of a tired question because it's the same probably question everyone asks a band, but do you ever get tired of playing live, or is it something that you just love?
I actually love it. I mean, we don't play live that much. We're not a band out touring all the time. So, I mean, we have time between shows usually. So we really enjoy playing live as much as possible. Yeah.
Okay. Jonas, is you the same?
Yeah, I feel the same. I enjoy every show when it's kind of a reward you get from, practicing, writing songs, recording them, spreading the word, and get out there and play them. And it's always rewarding to play them live and also talking to people afterwards. So they usually have a lot of fun things to tell about the music and how they interpret it and what it meant to them.
Exactly.
A lot of that, and that's really heartwarming, really.
I actually remember, after the pandemic, we played the first show in Denmark, Copenhagen, and I felt like, holy shit, I have forgotten the feeling, how it feels, how good it feels to play live 2 years after. So that was a really great feeling. Just a lot of appreciation for that moment. Yeah.
Like I think you did an awful lot of touring. I know you said you didn't do so much, but I suppose post bands don't, everything costs money. Everything costs money to tour. But you did quite your fair share of it this year. And I've noticed you already have tour dates for next year, or this year. Sorry, 2023. Yeah. So obviously you got the bug from 2022.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good year, 2022, and we played a lot of shows. So, I mean, I think we all felt that we want to book and play as much as we can.
And again, with all the touring and stuff that you're doing now at the moment, and trying to balance home, balance the work, everything else. Have you done any writing on new material?
We're
always writing.
We're writing new material right now and trying different things out and trying to hopefully put it on some pre-production or tape or things like that. So they're the constant flow when writing and trying out new music. So
great stuff.
There will be more music recorded.
So I think as soon as you get an album out, you already start thinking about new projects, ideas, and okay, let's do this, and how's the next album gonna be, what direction are we gonna take, and stuff like that. So it's really fun to play with.
It must be great the fact that you do everything yourselves, as you said, that you're under no time constraints by anybody to drop an album this year or next year, or have you yourselves a set plan every 2 years? Is that how you sort of aim, or is it just when you're ready?
We have never uttered a time.
Comes naturally.
Yeah,
that may be a good frequency of albums. 2-3 years could be.
I feel we just write until we're done. We feel we're done, and then we just, hey, let's hit the studio. We have material and ideas for an album, so let's start recording it.
Brilliant. Yeah. I want to just change direction a small bit, maybe talk about social media there, because it's a huge part of the game now, really, isn't it? For a band to get an audience between Bandcamp, between Facebook, Instagram, which we were talking about there just before we came on air. How important is it? Is it something that you're at every day? Do you have to be online checking stuff and corresponding to people and everything else? Is it a big part of the game now?
Well, Bandcamp, you always have to see what people order and stuff like that. And it's always fun to follow up what people are listening to on Tidal or Spotify. Instagram and Facebook, not every day. I mean, I don't think we have time for that, but we try the best we can, of course. So if someone hits us up, I mean, if they email us or write us on Instagram or Facebook, I mean, we try to get back to you as soon as possible.
Yeah. Like I mentioned to you before we came on air, you're one of the quickest bands to get back to anybody with regards to posts, and you may not think it because
it doesn't feel like that. No.
Trust me, lads. You are. I mean, it's great to be able to correspond to you within a couple of days, and that's all you'd expect from a band, you know. And Jonas, take a bow. That's you, isn't it? That's you on Facebook.
Quick responder.
Your phone next to you on your pillow is waiting for every comment. Well, that's you're one of the hardest working bands in that respect, I think, you know, in social media, like depending whether it's Instagram or Facebook. It is great to see bands getting back to people. And even when someone posts I don't know, post a track of yours just on one of the Facebook groups, you're in there to thank them. You know, it's such a big part of it for us, the listener, to know that you're that involved. It really makes it such a close and tight thing, you know.
It feels good to give that back, because people post about it, put it on the list on their Facebook and Instagram stories and so on. They have listened to a track and they want to show the world that they like it. And we must also tell them we appreciate the work you put in, because it's good to us as well, because that means that perhaps more people will note it. So maybe we'll run into someone who'll buy an album, or know someone who can book a show or something like that. So it's going on all the time.
But there you go. That's all it takes. You know, something could come of something. As you said, a tour, a show, some place may get in touch and say, come here. People seem to like your music. Why not come down and play in our pub or club?
Yeah. So that person has spent time with our music. So, I mean, of course, we will have time for, even if it's social media or, I mean, having a beer with someone and talk about music. Of course, you will always have time for that.
Yeah. No, just again, as a fan of the music, I appreciate the work that you do on social media, because it does play a big part for the listener and for the fan of the music, you know. I think the post scene in general is good for it, for getting back to people, you know, because it is so niche and so compact in its own strange way. Like, can I just go back to live music again? I want to ask you your favorite tracks to play live yourselves. Do you have a favorite track? Is there a track that gets your skin?
We actually have the same one. One of my favorites is of Avstånd, from the first song of the second album. There's something with that song, because it feels like a train that never stops going. It's kind of the same thing, but it just evolves over time. So it's a really cool thing to play and to make it evolve constantly. So I really love playing that song.
It is an incredible track. Builds, doesn't it? It builds so slowly, very methodical, like that riff, and it just draws you in. Like, it's an incredible track. Did you want to say something on it, Jonas? There, have you the same track or something else?
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. Well, as Marta said, there's a pulse and ever evolving pulse to it. It gets more and more, and then because it starts kind of mellow and it's just really post-rock. It's this country, perhaps, and it goes further. And in the end, it's definitely post-metal, post-rock. So that's a good one, and you always see that the audience like it. Another one is the one that we play here on the show. One of my new favorites is Avstånd from the new record, because there's so much things happening to it. There are big guitar melodies, there are breaks, there are airy, strange parts, and so on. And it's a long track, so you have a lot of things happening to it.
There's a lot going on, and a lot of layers, but the fact that you brought synths into the third album, does that give you that scope that you speak about space and that air about a track and an album? Does the fact that you can use synths, does that give that concept, does it help it grow?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, we always use some kind of backing tracks to put on there's a lot of layers going on, of course, maybe not in the beginning of a song, but also there, and it constantly evolves. So the difference in the third album is that it's more synthesized layer compared to the other two albums. Has more organic layer to it. But it creates a good space for the narrative, of course.
And who works on the synths between you? Is there somebody else?
It's the two of us, mainly Martin, and I contribute some parts.
It's all on you, Mark, for the fourth album, is it? No pressure for the fourth one.
Exactly. So when we do like parts for the album, we always look at after the pre-production. Okay, what can we do to evolve the layers and the narration, and it's like another instrument that is always with always with us.
Yeah.
So we always play with backing tracks. It's only from the first album that we sometimes don't use backing tracks.
Okay.
But,
okay.
All other songs are with it. Yeah.
Actually, not Avstånd, the one we talked about.
Oh yeah.
That's the one you liked. And Martin
Exactly. Yeah.
That could perhaps also be the reason, because if we do a lot of tracks, a lot of songs in the show, and then we have that almost like, we don't know backing tracks, no clicks, we just count it in and start it, and we get into the vibe. So that's also a bit of liberation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perhaps.
Yeah. Just because that track.
So that's maybe why it goes that way live, that people appreciate it.
But also that song has backing tracks, but only towards the end.
Yeah, exactly.
So we usually skip the most cinematic part of it in the end. If you listen to the album,
that's right.
you notice there's a whole symphony there.
Yeah, I actually spent the day listening to it today, because in preparation for this, dropping kids to school and back and everything else, that track was on repeat for about 2 hours.
Yeah.
So I can say I'm an expert on that track, except for pronouncing it, but I'm an expert otherwise. Lads, this year, 2023, I mean, obviously we mentioned there you've got tour dates already lined up. Is that the plan for the year, to tour as much as you can, or are you more inclined to try and get something out studio-wise?
Yeah. I say this year is pretty much a good combination of the two. Because we're writing songs right now and trying different things, and we're going to perhaps try to record them in a different way as a thing. Yeah. And also we have some tour dates that are booked. We have some other dates that we're going to negotiate dates with festivals and venues. So it's a good mixture, I say, because now we have had a new album out for a year, and people maybe not accustomed to, but at least they know it. It's probably easier to.
Sorry, go ahead, Jonas. Yeah.
So we're starting off with a spring tour, and that we're going to announce the specifics of a bit more tomorrow. Not tomorrow. Sorry.
I was going to say here's your opportunity, but this will be 2 weeks' time. Yeah.
Yeah, but by the time you will have the specifics. We're teaming up with our Belgian friends, Turpentine Valley again.
Fantastic! I saw that on Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah, for a couple of shows in Belgium, Germany, and France.
Again, the Belgian dates I saw didn't correspond to Dunk, right? So I'm assuming.
No, it's a bit.
Dunkfest, is it going to happen this year for you?
Doesn't.
Well, you never know.
You never know.
I mean, we played last year, so I mean, there's a lot of group bands, of course. Yeah.
Like, there's not many bands play 2 consecutive years at Dunk. I know that for a fact.
I don't think so.
Yeah. So be interested. But have festivals been on to you, lads, to get you involved in their shows after the year you've had?
Yeah, we have negotiations, and we've got some new contacts on them, both venues and festivals. Good. So hopefully we can announce some more things later this spring. Hopefully.
Yeah, it's just nice to see your hard work from 2022 pay off. I'd love to see festivals getting in touch with you, and trying to get you on their roster, because I think you deserve it for the work and effort you put into last year. It's been phenomenal, from a band in the post-metal scene. I have 3 questions, guys. I sent you last week there just to round up the show there for just a bit of fun. I'd be interested to hear what your answers are. So look, I'm going to throw the first question out to you. If you could record a cover version, lads, of any track, any genre, past or present, what would you have a go at? Martin, you go to first.
If we would do a cover, I think I remember going to a festival and they played this Final Fantasy VII music, and DJ was doing this really, really, really cool remix of it. Okay. So I think there's maybe something you can do, like a post-rock remix of it. That would be really, really cool. Nice. Like the Shinra theme from Final Fantasy VII is what I'm thinking about specifically. Yeah.
Okay, you've mentioned Final Fantasy before. You're into that side of music?
That's one of my Nobuo Uematsu, the composer. I mean, he's one of the greatest.
Yeah. Like, I should be mentioning, actually, you did a soundtrack as well, didn't you? Am I right in saying that?
Yeah.
Which
So
I never
we did,
touched on.
yeah, we did for a Swedish movie called Iris.
Mm-hmm.
We did a soundtrack, so it's also downloadable on Bandcamp. So
Great
it
stuff.
has no physical release.
Brilliant. Another box tech for you. That's fair play.
Yeah.
Jonas, yourself, if you could do a cover version or your own interpretation of one.
Yeah, I thought it, because there are so many good songs that are good from the start. But I think I actually came up with it right when hearing Martin mention Final Fantasy, because that was a good thing. One of my favorite bands are Paradise Lost. Mm-hmm. And they did a record that not all of the fans appreciated, called Host, which was much more a synth record.
Right.
And there are some songs of them that are really dark and emotional, and they could, I think you could do something amazing with heavy guitars and post-rock melodies to a song like Nothing Sacred or Permanent Solution, perhaps, because they're already heavy in their way, but not guitar and drum heavy. So that could be a thing.
Interesting, yeah. And again, I'm a fan of that album, but it took me maybe 10 years, I think, to actually appreciate it for what it was.
It's a strange album.
It is strange. I dropped it.
Are super good.
Yeah. Right, interesting answers, lads. If you could be a guest on stage with any band again, past or present, big stage, small stage, who would it be, Martin?
That would be Ulver for me. Both the black metal days and the electronic days. That would be fucking amazing. Yeah.
It could happen yet.
Yeah, just even better, like both things at the same show. That would be epic.
I mean, is it out of the ordinary to be able to support them? A band like that, is that even possible? A band like yourselves and a band like them?
I think it's possible. I mean, everything is possible in the realm of possibility.
Exactly. Yeah.
They are very underground. We are underground do-it-yourself band, but they're really electronic. They're really into pop electro nowadays.
Okay.
But of course, if they bring up their darker, more heavier days, then of course maybe
bring it on. Let's hope somebody out there is watching this show next week.
Yeah.
And who might make that happen?
It's called Tricks to G.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Jonas, what about yourself? If you could be on stage with any other band?
Anybody, we shouldn't mention Paradise Lost again. Perhaps I would say, because I enjoyed their shows back in the 90s and early 2000s so much, until the singer died. So joining Type O Negative on stage would probably be kick-ass.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
But then again, I thought of it. I also have outside of me who likes all that more old music, like 70s and 60s, the psychedelics and heavy things. So why not Pink Floyd at the Coliseum? Aim big.
You just took the words out of my mouth. Think big. Think big. Exactly. Yeah. Have you ever seen? Obviously, you may not have seen Pink Floyd, but have you seen Roger Waters or anything playing the Dark Side of the Moon album or anything like that?
No, sadly, I haven't. I hope to do it sometime.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to see that. It was incredible, absolutely incredible. Believe it or not, something like that came to Cork, which is such a small part of Ireland, but we had the joy of witnessing Dark Side of the Moon from start to finish, which has to be in my top 10 shows of all time. Amazing. Nice. They even blew the sound out. The place went dead. The lights went out. Such was the power of the show. It was incredible.
Yeah, that was the dark side.
That was Cork was in the dark side of the moon that night, yes, for sure. That's an album to look out for this year. Is there something that you're looking forward to hearing? A band that's releasing something down the line?
I don't.
I haven't really. There was so much good music released last year.
Yeah,
I know Catatonia is releasing a new album, and the songs there have previewed so far are good. Hopefully, they will catch them live as well. So that will probably be the one I'm thinking of right now.
Yeah, I actually did a single review of Catatonia's track "Birds" only yesterday. Yeah, I love it. Again, the Fall of Hearts album from Catatonia, I think was sort of like a rejuvenation of the band. I thought that album was amazing. And this seems to sound similar, I think. That's from what I can hear so far anyway. But I love Catatonia, great band. Martin?
I don't know
anything?
who is releasing what, so I have no clue.
You're just concentrating on your own music for now.
Yeah, no, but I might be bad at searching for new music that is not released yet. Usually, I get it by the day they release it, then I know it.
Okay.
Since I work within hi-fi, so I work with music every single day. So I usually get it, but I don't get it before.
So when someone is testing a sound system behind you, Martin, do you decide on what they're going to listen to?
Of course. There has actually been people asking for Sagor, so that's kind of cool. Yeah.
That's good to hear. Lads, that's it really. Come here. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. It was great to chat to you and get a bit of an insight into the band, you know, especially a band I've been listening to since, as I said, 2016. You have your place in the post-music scene, I think. You have a great following. Even album number one has almost like reached cult status in the sense that it's, as you said, it's remembered as one of the best albums of that decade, you know. So look, onwards and upwards for you guys, and I wish you all the best.
Yes, we appreciate it. Thank you.
And hopefully I'll see you down the road this year at a festival maybe.
Of course. Maybe.
Maybe. Jesus, you're giving nothing away. Have you been sworn to secrecy or something?
No, not really.
Maybe a ritual or two. Who knows?
We know. Well, look, if I see you, lads, we'll share a beer again and we'll have a good old chat.
Sure thing.
Cheers.
So there you go, guys. That's Sagor Som Mot Slutet from Sweden. I can't say enough about this band, lads. Again, if you like your music dark, you like a bit of atmosphere, and you like it heavy, check these guys out. Thanks everybody for tuning in again. Appreciate it. Thanks to Richie from the Metal Cell podcast, who always edits and produces the show, and I'll see you on a couple of weeks' time. Take care. Good luck.